Hi everyone, welcome to the third part of the Polyformer assembly video series. And in this video we'll be going over the assembly stage for the carriages on the front side. And in the fourth video I'll be talking about electronics. So at the moment we want to be preparing these prints, and at first we're going to start with these two pairs of Guidelers, and the one that has this kind of cutout is going over at the top, and this one that has the flush surface is going over at the bottom. They are the filament Guidelers. So we're gonna be start with preparing the print and installing thread inserts on them. So the inserts location for these parts are over here, and here for these for this pair. And once we have them installed, we want to be installed our 623 bearings. So you actually don't need the washers. I'm putting washers because this version has problem with the bearing binding if I tighten it too close, which will be adjusted in the next revision that's coming very soon for this part. So once we have the bearing installed, we want to also pre-install the screws. And then what we do is we slide them in to the rails. We want to make sure that they reach the bottom. And then we put into this that has this unique texture on this. This is the spindle, and the bearing should fit very nicely, very loosely in the grooves. And we want to be securing the carriages with the set screws on the back. Just tighten them a little bit. It should spring pretty fairly. And then at the next stage we want to be installing the melt zone. So it has gone through some design revisions over the last few weeks, and I made some changes to it. So if you're using the older version, you have the freedom to choose to print the newer one. There wasn't a significant change to it, but there were just some minor improvements. So again, thread insert locations. Here are some of the thread insert. There are 2 over here, and then 4 over here for the fans. In this case, I'm just using 2 screws for the fans because there's really no need for 4. And for the fan screws, I think I'm using 6mm. You want to slide the screws in. Let me show the detail here a little bit better. You want to put the screws right over here before, here's another one. You want to be putting the screws right over here, and it should just stick out just a little bit, about 3mm. And you want to put another one on the diagonal side of that. And then we install the fans over into the fan hub. Now, by the way, be careful of the fan orientation. So the one that has those ribs on them are the ones that where the air is blowing towards. So we want to take our hot end and make sure you drill. You take your 1.6mm or 1.7mm drill bits, and then try to drill a clean hole through the nozzle before you install them onto the hot end. And we want to install the ceramic heater at this stage. Just slide it in, as well as our thermistor. So if you're using the screw type, M3 screw type thermistor, you can install them on the side using the M3 thread. If you're using cartridge style, you can just slide it in from the top and then secure it with another screw. Oops, sorry. Just tighten it a little bit. And now we want to take our 60 millimeter M3 screws and then run the screws from the left side of the print into the hot end. Now these threads are supposed to be used for fastening the ceramic heaters to the copper hot end, but we are taking advantage and using those threads to fasten our hot end onto the 3D printed parts. But we still need to figure out a way to fasten the ceramic heater. So in this case, I'm using M3 nuts. So you want to pre-install M3 nuts before you screw everything to the end. Now we just kind of work our way in, a little bit at a time. We want to make sure that we place our hot end right at the center. So in order to figure that out, we kind of need to thread it in a little bit and then kind of place the hot end manually. I think that's about right. Again, we really want to make sure that the hot end is actually sitting right at the center of the part. Now the screws are actually held by simply threading into the plastic. I'm not as worried about that because honestly there aren't a lot of load on these axes. The most load is actually on this axis as the filaments being pulled out through the nozzle. Now we want to secure the ceramic heater with the two M3 nuts. You notice that I'm using a lot of different tools. I typically don't link the tools in a bill of material. I kind of expect the users to have these tools on hand, but these are not specialty tools or anything. I'm just using a plier. Now that's done, and now we install the melt zone onto the machine. Check everything's right. Yeah. So now that part's done. I'm not gonna put the set screws in because you get the idea. And the last part is gonna be this guy, the ribbon guideler. And now the way we assemble it is we want to be putting 2 threaded inserts right at the core, the spindle part, on both sides, this little part. And then we put 2 M3 times 8mm long screws on through the holes over at this side, and we fasten it. We want to be doing the same for the other part. We want to align the 2 parts against the groove, against the cutout, just for aesthetics. Now that part's done, we want to be sliding in the carriages. Now they don't actually have directionality, so either left or right works. They are mirrored. You want to be putting the set screws in as well. I don't have them yet. And the way you secure it is by the way you secure a spindle is by just pushing it from the back, because it already has a compliant mechanism that kind of secures it. And this guy doesn't take any load, to be honest, so it doesn't necessarily need a bearing to run the spindle, but this one does take a lot of load from the pressure of the filament applying onto the spindle. So it was a kind of good idea, or actually necessary, to have the bearing installed on them to take the load, to take the axial radial load, I mean. And yeah, so this is pretty much done, and in the next video I will be talking about the wiring as well as the electronics install. Thanks for watching.